enough of that. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. We made it. Been an interesting week. And if you are joining me, it's a new platform I'm using here. So hopefully I should be able to see your comments. So if you wouldn't mind and you're seeing me, let me know where you are dialing in from so I can kind of interact with you. Very exciting stuff. So I'm excited because I've got, hopefully it'll stay live tonight. I got my my workbook here. I'm going to do some digital whiteboarding for you guys in total guru mode. I got my Apple Pen. And I wanted to dive into a problem that a lot of tech sellers I work with have, including myself. It's kind of why I started down this journey a number of years ago, which is the problem around high taxes. What do we do about it, and why it's a problem, and how we can kind of navigate through that. So again, if you're watching this, I invite you to leave a comment, and hopefully I'll be able to see that. All right. So with that said, let's get into today's discovery or uncovering of ideas here. So let's get my screen sharing here thing. Okay, cool. All right. So let's see. The best way to kind of start this whole thing out would be, let's talk about taxes, right? That's the topic for today's workshop. And feel free to ask questions at any time. I'm happy to jump into it. But basically, the fundamental problem that most sellers have is they make really good money. And that in itself isn't the problem. The problem has to do with how they're making the money. And what I mean by that is it's how it's categorized by the IRS is fundamentally the problem. And I've got kind of a slide deck here that will kind of show you through some of those things. So give me a second here, kind of pull that up. So let me share my screen first. Let's do a percent. No, let's do it this way. I got it. Yeah, I got a couple of things. Yeah, let me kill this because I don't need this for now. And there we go. All right, cool. So here's the problem. Problem is, and you can't really see the screen here. This is, and I'll show you this in a different view here. The problem is fundamentally that how you earn your income through W-2 earnings is taxed in a graduated kind of bracket system. And I'll show you through this visually here in a second here. And this, depending on your income level, could subject you to some of the highest tax rates there are. I think it's over 37% for the federal level, plus state and other taxes. And before you know it, you're approaching 40 to 50% or so. And so the problem is, though, that the more that you earn, the more that you'll pay. And I'll show you here visually. I got a nice little worksheet. Let me just pull that up because I think that'll be really cool to see. So this is a kind of a cool sheet here. So check this out. There's a couple ways I can show you this. I think there is there we go. All right. So check this out. So in this little tool here, I'm going to show you a couple things, and let me give you a second here to walk you through the process here. So first, notice right here on there's this one in brackets, right? And it's showing that as I move my cursor along the line here, we go from 0% income to $1,000 to $12,000. And notice how this dotted line intersects with these various degrees over here. So we go from 0% cresting into 10% and 12% and so on and so forth. So we'll watch what happens. Watch number one, how many of these categories get added, right? And I'll show you how much is actually being paid to taxes. And this is what I mean by, if you're making good money in tech sales, call it 200 and above, you kind of have a tax problem. But when you start making 300 and 400 and 500, then you really have tax problems and you really kind of feel the pain. And I'll explain what that means absolutely here in a second. So hold on, get this going. Okay. So we walk us through this process. You're earning $1,000, you're or $13,000 for the year. You're paying virtually no taxes. Now we kind of graduate into step two here, where you can see that it says 2, where 6.2% of income is taxed at 10%. All right. So this keeps going. Then we get to the 12%. Now, if you're a seller, right, you're not making $30,000 a year. I mean, I hope not. That would be a major problem. But as you kind of get probably in this $150-ish thousand range, if you're a decent enterprise seller, this is kind of where you're at. At this point, let's call it 150. There's kind of 5 brackets of taxes that you're paying. And I think I can move. Yeah, you can see that we have $12,000 is in tax. Then you're paying $970, then $3,500, then $9,800, and $11,000, right? And it keeps going. And as you get, past the 1 into the 200-ish range, we crest into the 32% tax bracket. And you'll see that number, go from 10,264. That'll keep going. And then you just, it's a small little bracket, the 32, and then it jumps right to 35. Yay. How exciting. And then that keeps going, right? And then 35. Now this is where you're making $250 a year, which is great money. Yay. but you're also spending, paying a lot of money. And I can't show you, total tax right now is at $68,000. If you look right, I can't do that. Yeah. But in this number here, it'll change to show you the total tax that you're paying. So, and then that kind of balloons up. So this is when I talk about, like, guys that are making 300, this 250 or 200-ish range to 300, it's not so bad until you crest over into this number where you're at the 35% tax bracket rate. And then it just gets worse and worse. And that's why, I kind of showed in this little sheet over here, the more that you earn, the more that you pay. And the problem will never really go away, because you can do all the deductions that you want. You can do the home office deduction. You can go lease a car. You can do the cell phone deduction, the membership fees, all that stuff. It's not really going to move the needle for you when you're paying that much money. And then if you're really killing it and you're in, calling it over 600 grand, now you're in this 37% tax range. And look how many brackets that you've crested. We started at 5, or started at 1 really. And now we're at 6, with 7 of them. Then we get to 8 of them. And then the problem really here is at that 8, when you crest into over 600 grand, right now, all that money is being taxed at 37%. And that just keeps going and going. And so that number goes from 76,000 to 80,000 and so on and so forth. And this is where it becomes demoralizing. And my buddy, Brandon Fluharty, posted a post earlier the week, and he was talking about how he did like $1.2 million in sales. Let's look what it looks like. 1.2 or so. That's $422,000 in taxes on the federal side. And sure, he's probably doing the 401k. And I'm not throwing one under the bus. I'm just kind of illustrating, like, really successful sellers. This is a completely reasonable area of income that you can be at. And I just want to illustrate, like, at this point, $250,000. I can't jump over there. $250,000. If you look at that last 8th bracket, is getting paid to taxes. $250,000 goes out the window in taxes at that level. And it just gets, kind of worse and worse. Imagine making $2 million, $2 million, and 700 grand goes out the window in taxes. And so this is fundamentally the problem. I'll say the good part is you've got a tremendous opportunity where if you're making, I guess your net at $2 million is $1.3 million roughly, right? Give or take. You've got $1.3 billion that you can go put to work for you. And that's what I like. That's what I talk about in my book, which is conveniently placed right behind me, titled So Rich You Can Quit. And it's what I teach sellers in my invitation only Tech Sales Investor Club, how to escape this paradigm. Because there's a couple of things going on. Number one, we're still in the trading time for money paradigm. I talk about it in the book in chapter 1 or 2, I believe, where it's as what I just said, right? You're putting in your work, your efforts, you're making sales, and you're getting rewarded for it. Now, granted, like, the rewards you're getting are pretty extraordinary, right? Like, you're not working a $70,000 a year job where you're punching in and clocking out sort of thing. You are still putting your time, but you are being rewarded for that. And that creates an opportunity for you to take that money. Ideally, you want to live on the smallest amount possible, like your salary, take those commissions and go put it to work for you in tax advantage investments. And I'll get into what the heck that means in a second. So I want to do a compare and contrast here first. So right now we're showing if you're earning regular income, ordinary income, active income, they're all kind of the same word to describe the same thing. These are income that is categorized by the IRS that's tied to these tax brackets that you see here. Right now, what happens if you start earning your income passively? Now, you can earn passive income through a couple of means. One, and if you just joined us, welcome. Feel free to leave a comment. Hopefully I could see it. It's a new platform that I'm using to stream things here, so we'll test that out. But earning passive income can be through stocks. It could be through real estate investment. That is a personal preference of mine. I do believe in having some money in stocks, but I do believe in alternative asset investing. So investing in real estate, and I don't mean like go out and buy a fix and flip. I mean, yes, you can do that, but like if you want a second job, by all means. I mean, go put it to work in like institutional quality, large commercial projects. And that could be apartment buildings, big fan of that. It could be self-storage. It could be mobile home parks, medical office buildings, kind of a variety of these sort of things that the really big investment organizations, family offices, sovereign wealth funds, they all invest in those sort of things because they are traditionally low risk. They have great tax advantages, and it serves a big need in the world, right? Housing is one of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So like there's a housing shortage depending on where you are in the country. And there's always a need for, affordable housing, right? So it's a great asset class to be invested in. And I love doing it. I'm personally invested. We'll get to later on. So when you shift from regular income where you're taxed at the highest rate and you go over to capital gains. Now I realize this is probably not realistic for most people, but I just want to do a compare and contrast. We're comparing one extreme where you're making all your money and no passive income. Like I was talking to a guy today, he's in sales, does great, had a couple good years, but right now he's earning $0 in passive income. And I can't fault him, but like I just want to illustrate like there's a way out of this game. So let's compare the two. So we saw before, here we go. Saw before that I'll do this back. So when you're over here, you have all these tax brackets, right? All this income. And we get to the extreme here, we'll get to, we'll call it $1 million. What happens in $1 million? $1 million, you're paying $330,473.50 in taxes. And now if you shift all of that income, make $1 million a year in through passive means, right? So you take your money that you're earning in sales, and instead of, blowing it on hookers and blow, or cars or houses or whatever else, you put that money to work for you and you put it into these tax advantage, low risk assets like real estate. And well, the way the tax system works for capital gains is there's kind of three levels. There's 0% that you kind of see here. And I wish it would show it a little better. I think because I'm zoomed in. 1 second, let me fix this. It doesn't really help. Sorry. I was trying to show you here. Here we go. Yeah. So we have, 0%. We have 15% and we have 20%. And these sort of depend on the tax bracket that you're in, right? That you're earning. And then also it kind of depends on if it's long-term or short-term capital gains. So what is long-term? Anything over 12 months. Short-term? Anything under 12 months. It's that simple. And most of the deals that my investors invested in the club, these are all longer-term projects. So they kind of qualify for the maximum 20% range. So let's go back to the example here. So we're at 100% earning money through capital gains. We just made $1 million passively. Like we put all of that blood, sweat, and tear money that took us to get all those POs and all the QBRs and all the territory reorgs and all that stuff. We put in these passive deals and they're out there working. They're making money for us while we're sleeping. Mailbox money. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. And we're only paying, if you look on the top, the box over here, right over here where my mouse is, at $1 million. We are at $169,926.25 compared to, because I forgot what the number is. Get 2 million here. That is $330,473. So was that roughly half of that in taxes? Plus, there are some really special things that you can do with real estate and earning your money through capital gains that will help you to potentially shelter that $169,000. Yeah, what was the number? 169,926 that you can do to shelter that money. So you pay potentially even less in taxes. And I go into that in the book, and I'll kind of share some details about that right now, just for the sake of keeping the discussion complete here. So there are things where you can take, you can apply depreciation. So, you buy an asset for $1 million, and, the IRS allows you to write off the fact that that asset, that building is going to fall apart, like in real time over the course of the next, call it 30 years. And so each year you're able to take that purchase price, divide it over 30, I'm using round numbers here, and you're able to write off as a loss for the cost that it keeps to cost to maintain the property there as a loss on the property. It's all paper losses, but what that does is it changes your, what's called your tax basis. And what that basically means is how much money that you're taxed on. So for example, you make $1 million investment and you start making money from that. It's lowering the point at which you can start paying taxes on the profits that you make in the property. And there's a lot of different strategies that you can employ. I'll give you an example. One of the deals that I did as an investor in one of my apartment deals it was a 92 unit in Georgia here. We were able to do a very specialized, it's called a study on this property. And what that means is they go in and they analyze all the number of windows and doors and light switches and light fixtures and the age of the roof, because all of these different components have different depreciation schedules. And to make a long story short, we were able to write off 114% of our investment in that year. Now, without getting too complicated into bonus depreciation and the phase out of all this stuff. Basically what it meant for our investors that invested is if you put $100,000 of cash into that deal, you got a paper loss of negative, or I guess the loss, that would be $114,000 because 114%. And so what that means is you had this loss that you're carrying with you, and the IRS allows you to apply that loss to any other gains that you get. So if you made money in another real estate deal, let's say you made $100,000, well, you got a negative $114,000 to apply for that. So now you're only paying your taxes at 20%, depending on where you're at, on the $14,000 as an example. Hopefully that made a lot of sense. It's super powerful stuff. This is exactly how the ultra wealthy are able to pay little to no taxes. It's how family offices do this. If you don't know what family office is, it basically means it is a family. Let's say you had $50 million to your name, like net worth. And you can hire basically a fund manager for your family, and their sole job is to manage your investments. So they're going out to find maybe deals like this, maybe shopping centers, shopping plazas, apartments, to put your money to work for you so that you can maintain and grow generational wealth for your literal family. There's also multifamily offices where you've got, you and your buddies got a bunch of money. You kind of pull your resources together. Instead of having, $40 million together, you got $100 million together, and you got more buying power or leverage power. So these are what these sort of, these ultra high net worth, ultra wealthy groups do, is they invest in these sort of things, and they take advantage of the tax code that's written in the way to incur, that's what I'm looking for, to support, to gain more interest for investors to want to put money to work in the economy, especially in housing. That's really what it's about. It's about supporting businesses, creating jobs, and also creating housing, because again, there's a housing shortage in the US here. So I want to show you this chart here in another way, because I thought it was kind of cool. Give me a second here to show you this. This is kind of cool. So check this out. So this is the same chart from before, but kind of showed in a different way. So a couple of things. The stair step is just showing you basically the tax rate that you've got, right? Where when you're earning money in this kind of small amount of cash here, you're not paying a lot of money in taxes, and then it starts to go up higher and higher and higher, stair stepping along the way, right? And then this red line is basically showing you your average tax rate. Now, this is just showing regular income, and this is the potential amount of taxes that you're kind of paying along the way, right? So that's that piece. Now, when you shift this over to capital gains, notice how the red line is going lower and lower down that chart, right? Till it gets to about here. And this is showing you this kind of blended tax rate of basically 15% till you get to about here. So look, average max is 18, 19% versus 30, 34, depending on where you are. Of course, now we're in the $1 million range, right? Gross income is $1 million or so. So really powerful stuff. And again, if you are leaving comments, and I encourage you to do so, to at least help me test that this thing is working. Someone say hi, or thank you, or this looks good, or I have no idea what you're talking about, so I can engage with you. That would be phenomenal. All destinations. Oh, I know why. Because LinkedIn doesn't let me do that. Son of a gun. Post camera. Okay. All right. Well, if you were trying to comment with me, then I apologize. So let's go back into my sheet over here. So we explained, let's do a recap. We explained that if you're a high income earning tech seller, and you've got tax problems, and you're starting to realize that the more money you make, the more taxes you pay, and it can be demoralizing. It was demoralizing for me when I got started with this, as I started making more and more money as a tech seller, realizing like, man, I feel like I'm working to support the IRS. I feel like I'm working to just pay Uncle Sam. There's got to be a better way. And what I had discovered is that the way I earned income, and if you're watching this, you're a tech seller, the way you and I earn income through sales is subject to these high tax rates. So really the only way out of this, the way to get around this, is to change how you're earning your income. So stop earning income from W-2 active, ordinary, regular income, and shift that into earning money through passive income, which is taxed at capital gains rates, which is taxed almost half of what you would pay at the max rate on the federal level. And then when you do that, you get a couple of benefits. Number one, you have the flexibility of doing some really interesting taxi tax savings things with it. I just mentioned this kind of cost segregation study that you can do. You might be able to defer taxes because you can roll it into what's called a 1031 exchange. 1031 exchange is kind of a complicated process, but basically means you take the profit from a sale of real estate and you roll it into kind of a similar but maybe larger project, and you defer the taxes on that. You can do this game of kick the can down the road for many, many years. There's a lot of rules around that, but it just kind of illustrate a point that for sophisticated investors, they are able to do 1031 exchanges and defer taxes, into perpetuity. So that's one strategy. The other benefit too, of course, is, a lot of sellers I talk to, at least for me, when I was in this kind of the valley of despair, when I was going through this, was I realized I don't want to be in sales forever. I don't want to keep doing this. I mean, you can earn a great income, but sales is hard. And it's getting harder as days go by, right? Things are getting more competitive. And at least for me, I felt like sales took a lot out of me because I gave a lot to my clients. And I didn't feel like it was something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I wanted to figure out, how do I parlay the success I'm making in sales, earning in sales, and invest that into assets that are going to generate passive income for me. So I just take my money, put it to work for me and make money for me, make it grow. And I realized, putting your money in the savings account, that'll do something for you, but you'll barely stay above inflation. The stock market, I wasn't a big fan of. I think it belongs in most people's portfolio, but a portion of that. And then what I discovered is what the ultra wealthy do is their whole allocation of their portfolio is very, very different from people like you and I, right? Like from normal people, they don't have the 100% stock allocation and some cash there and some bonds. It's it's predominantly private placement equities. So what that means is this sort of deals I'm talking about, where these large apartment complexes, they're in these private placement alternative asset classes that for most investors, number one, they're unaware of, and number two, they don't have access to these sort of deals. So you kind of have to be be in the big boys club to get there. So that opened my eyes, and I realized, oh, cool, this kind of solves a couple problems for me. It solves the tax liability problem that doesn't seem to go away. That's cool. It creates passive income for me. So at some point in time, when I want to pull the parachute and escape from sales, I have an escape plan, right? Because what you may find yourself happens is when you're in sales and you're making really good money and you've got a really good lifestyle, you can kind of feel like you have a set of golden handcuffs. And I know, depending on where you are with your income, you're like, oh, poor you, boo-hoo, golden handcuffs. Oh, it's a real problem, because what happens is you get so comfortable with your income levels and the lifestyle that you maintain, you feel afraid to be able to do anything else, because you kind of put your lifestyle at risk, right? Because you got good thing going, good money coming in, you're supporting that lifestyle, but you're highly dependent on that income. I run into that a lot with a lot of sellers. They make really good money, but it's truly their only source of income. And they are one bad quarter, bad deal, bad reorg, bad economy away from losing their income, right? I mean, how many sellers this year in 24, I should say, from a lot of organizations were let go, right? They were downsizing. That happens. And that's just part of the industry, right? We expect that to happen. If you're not performing, you kind of get moved out. If there's an industry shift that you can't control, you got to get moved out, and you're at a great risk of being able to support your family and your lifestyle if your sole income is 100% dependent on your ability to sell things. So I advocate, take the money that you make from sales and start putting it to work for you in these different low risk, tax advantage asset classes that can make a ton of money for you. And then eventually you create enough of a cushion, enough of cash flow and appreciation where you offset how much you're earning in your W-2 salary, right? Your sales, and you actually truly can create financial freedom for yourself and your family. It's all within reach. This is nothing that that happens literally overnight. This is not a get rich quick strategy of doing things. This is a wealth happens slowly over time. It's not super exciting. I mean, it could be, I guess, and unless you're putting a ton of money to work, right, where you kind of accelerate that timeline to getting to that financial freedom. For most sellers, being able to put 50 to 100K, 25 to 50K per quarter, right, is a great starting place to be able to put your money to work. And then the next question you'll ask me is, well, that's cool, JP, but where do I put my money to work? Where do these deals live? Well, quick commercial plug. in my Tech Sales Investor Club, we help tech sellers get access to pre-screened and pre-vetted real estate deals because of an arrangement that I have with one of my other businesses, where we help find these deals, we interview best-in-class operators, and we get access to these deals. And we are very, very thorough in our process of kind of vetting and screening and doing our due diligence. Now, nothing's guaranteed, but we try to mitigate risk as much as possible by going through all the things with a fine-tooth comb. And then when we find the best deals that we love the best, that's what we present to our tech sellers in our investor club to be able to put their money to work. And the idea is at least once a quarter, be able to present a rock star deal for them to be able to put their money to work so that they can keep that velocity of investment going and get we'll call it the snowball effect of growing that interest and appreciation and cash flow over time, right? Because again, this doesn't happen quickly overnight. So that's a great advantage of being able to work with me in my club, is you get access to these deals so that you can quickly put your money to work for you. So with that, I think I got 4 minutes left. I'm gonna take a quick drink of water. I hope this was useful. I will also mention that I plan on doing here. Let me get rid of this for a second. Here we go. I do plan on doing a deeper dive workshop on this at the end of this month. It'll be on the 27th, and I'm working on getting a registration page where it'll be easy. The plan will be like you go to techsalesinvestorclub.com/events. It's not live yet. And then you'll be able to register for the event there. But keep an eye out on my post. I'll be putting a registration link when I get that up and running. But I'll go into a deep dive on this. It'll be about 45-minute workshop or so, maybe an hour. And I'll go into more details, some more strategies there. If you have any questions in the meantime or things that you want me to cover, feel free to message me on whatever platform you're watching this on. Unfortunately, I can't seem to get comments on LinkedIn. Let me see if I can actually open that up real quick while I'm doing this. Hold on. See if I got any. LinkedIn seems to be the only one. Yeah, no one. All right, no messages. That's cool. LinkedIn seems to be the only one that doesn't allow me to kind of do that, but that's fine. So if you have any questions that you want me to answer on the live Q&A piece for either next week's workshop that I'll be doing on Thursday or the deep dive kind of masterclass at the end of the month, let me know, and I'm happy to answer it for you. Otherwise, I am super appreciative of you spending 30 minutes with me today. This has been great. I love doing these workshops. It allows me to kind of share my passion for helping tech sellers realize they have a way out. They have options, and you're not stuck, and it's beautiful. I will also mention this because it's fun. For those of you that stuck around, that's the name of the word, stuck around until the end here. Oh, one just left. You missed out, man. I'm giving away the audiobook version of my book. So number one, you can grab a copy of my book for free. Just cover shipping and handling. Just DM me or message me, and I'll get you a special link to grab that. But if you want the Spotify Audible version of it for free, separate, right? You don't want that. Message me with the phrase "So Rich You Can Quit Feb," as in February, right? And I'll get you the link that you can use to redeem the Spotify audiobook version. It is narrated by yours truly. So if you enjoy my soothing voice, you can hear it in your head for 2 hours as I read all the pages to you. And with that, I think that's it. We can kind of end on time here. I appreciate your time. Have a great weekend. And here's to helping you become so rich you can quit. See you next time. Where's the stop? I don't know where the stop is. There we go. End stream. Okay.